Hello, everyone. Oh, it's just good to see you. I love you all. This is a good day. And this is a different kind of day, as on a number of levels. We have Memorial Day, as you know, Memorial Day weekend, and so that means a lot of us are gathering with friends and family. There's people that are traveling, that are watching the race, and so if you're watching from a distance or watching this later, I want to thank you for taking the time, and for everyone who's here in person, I want to thank you for taking the time too. I'm so glad that we're together. It's good to be together. And as part of being together this week, we have our Worship Together weekend. So we have kids and students of all different ages here. And so we get to have a little bit of extra fun. I'm going to let you in on a secret about me. I have a lot of energy as a person. I'm sure you never guessed this. And one thing they tell you, one thing you learn about preaching is that in general, you're supposed to plant. Like, I need to stay here and stay relatively still so that you're paying attention to my words and not me bouncing around. But this week, I get to move. I get to make gestures. We got props. We got all kinds of stuff going on. It's going to be fun. And on a similar note, normally it's kind of traditional that the audience stays more or less quiet during the service. This week, you're going to have some chances to be loud. There's going to be some call and response. There's going to be some shouting out. Now, if you want to stay quiet, that's okay. But for anyone who wants to make some noise, you're going to have some chances to do that today. So, let's get started. If you have, today, we're not part of a series. This isn't something new. This is just, we're going to look at a verse and talk about it. So if you have your Bible or your phone, you can pull that out and flip to Micah chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. So I'll give you a moment, whether it's a Bible in the seat in front of you, one you brought, a device, all sorts of great ways to read the Word and to make sure that I didn't miss something. It's the only way to know if I'm making this up or not is to check. All right. I know Micah's kind of an odd chapter. We don't normally look at Micah, so I want to give you a chance if you need to look up in the concordance what page it starts on. The Lord will mediate between peoples and will settle disputes between strong nations far away. They will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will no longer fight against nation, nor train for war anymore. So this is part of a prophecy. It's a kind of poem about the future, and it's repeated by two different prophets. One is named Isaiah, and here it's repeated by a prophet named Micah. And this is a popular prophecy. This is a big deal kind of prophecy. And it's a big deal because it's talking about a day when people won't fight anymore, when there will be peace between all peoples. And we look forward to that, and we long for that. But we also have a problem with this verse right away, because it says, hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. What's a plowshare? What's a pruning hook? These are things they would have known about, but we don't really know what they are. So let's start with swords. When we imagine a sword, we tend to think of, a knight in shining armor with a long steel sword. But in the Old Testament, they didn't have steel. They had copper and bronze and some iron, and so their swords would have looked a lot more like this. You see, it's a lot shorter because copper and bronze and even iron aren't nearly as strong as steel. You can't make it as long, and it's also not as sharp along the edge. It's more of a stabbing, poking kind of weapon. So in the Old Testament, a lot of the swords would have looked like this. And a plowshare, it's a lot like if you took this sword and you bent over the tip and hammered it out. And so they can look differently. There's different designs, but a lot of them looked a lot like this. And it's not very sharp. What it's useful for is dragging it through the soil and breaking up the earth. It's almost like an axe that breaks up the earth. You can attach it to a plow, a thing to push or pull, and it helps turns over the earth so you can plant things. And this is cutting-edge technology for the time. I mean, this is a big deal. But most of us aren't farmers, so the significance of a plow is kind of lost on us. So instead, today we're going to focus on the spears and the pruning hooks. And instead of pictures of old rusted tools, I have some models. So this is our spear model. The real ones were probably a bit bigger, maybe a little bit tougher, but I made this myself so that you could see we have a spear. We have a copper spearhead on a long stick, and you can see it's good at stabbing. It's good at poking. This is my model of a pruning hook. Now, pruning hooks can look differently, but the important thing about this is that this outside edge here is not sharp. Not at all. I could poke you with it, nothing's gonna happen. I could slash you with it, and you're going to be annoyed and confused, but you're not going to be hurt. These are not good at hurting. The inside edge right here, that's the sharp part. And the reason this inside edge is sharp is so I can grab a bundle of grain and I can hook it and cut it free, like I'm harvesting. Or I can go to a grapevine and I can hook it around the vine and cut it free to get my grapes. Or I could even put it on the end of a stick and I could use that stick to reach up into the trees and cut fruit down that I couldn't reach. So spears, they are very good at hurting people. Hooks, they're not very good at hurting people. Spears are very bad at getting food. I'm just gonna break it if I try to use my spear. But hooks are very good at getting food. And that's what I want us to remember. Spears good at stabbing, hooks good at getting food. But that's kind of wordy. So I'm just gonna make it even simpler. A spear hurts and a hook helps. And this is our chance to be loud. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say spear, and when I punch my arm in the air, you all, everyone who wants to, can shout out hurts as loud as you want. We ready? A spear? Oh, you guys might have beat first hour. That was good. All right. And a hook, I'll say a hook, and when I punch my arm in the air, you say helps. A hook, spear, hook, spear, hook, hook. Ah, paying attention. Nice. Okay. So with that in mind, let's look at the verse again. The Lord will mediate between peoples, and he will settle disputes between strong nations far away. They will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will no longer fight against nation, nor train for war anymore. It says God will mediate between peoples. Mediate is a fancy word for judge. This says that God will be the judge. There'll come a day when everyone brings their arguments to God and God settles them. And so we won't have to fight anymore to see who's right or who's wins, because if there's an argument, we're just going to bring it to God. But it's not like that yet. People still fight and they still argue. So why is God telling us about this? Why did Micah write this? Well, this is just one part of what Micah is saying. Micah goes on to say that there will be one man who will bring this about, one man who will do this, and that man will be a king born in Bethlehem. We know who that king is. It's Jesus. Jesus will be the king and the judge who brings peace. Jesus is the one who will bring an end to all of the argument and fighting and violence. He will be the good judge who brings peace. So when Jesus comes back, he will make a world where we don't fight anymore, where no one does. So if you follow Jesus, this is your hope. This is our hope. This is a promise that we can hold on to in times of hurt and argument and violence. We know that peace is coming. But a lot of people, they're not following Jesus. They don't know about this peace. They don't know about this hope. And if we're following Jesus, we want to tell them. We want to let them know about Jesus and the peace and the hope and the future he is bringing, a future they can be part of now. We want to tell them the love of Jesus and the hope he brings. But here's the problem. We're talking about a Jesus who is full of love, and we want to tell people that Jesus brings peace. But a lot of times, we're not full of love, and we are not bringing peace. We're still fighting to get what we want from the world. We're still holding onto our spears and struggling and pushing to get what we want. I mean, imagine you have an army of people with spears chanting, "We love Jesus. Jesus brings peace." No one's going to believe them. They're holding spears. But imagine if you had an army of people with harmless hooks saying, "We love Jesus. Jesus brings peace." Everyone will pay attention. If you want to show people the love of Jesus, turn your spears into pruning hooks. If you want to show people the love of Jesus, help them. Don't hurt them. Because remember, a spear hurts. A hook. So if you want to show people the love of Jesus, if you want them to see Jesus, help them. Don't hurt them. Now, this all seems pretty simple, right? Pretty easy. Just be nice to people, right? I mean, do we really need a sermon about that? Yes. Turns out we do. And it's not because we don't know this. Yes, we know we need to be nice, but it turns out we are really bad at telling the difference between hurting and helping. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to start with me. I don't want you to think I got this all figured out. I'm starting with me. So when I was in high school, I discovered that I was really good with words. I could use words to make myself look good, to make myself sound smart, and most importantly, to make me sound right. If we got in a debate, I was going to win. And I thought to myself, very nobly, I'll use this power to make the world a better place. I'll make people see what is true. I will make them believe what is right, which coincidentally is what I believe. But I wasn't really helping, because a lot of what I was doing was just proving that I was smart, proving that I was better. And even when I proved something true, even when I showed them something that was right, all I was really doing was using words to get my way. I had to learn that winning is not the same as helping. I had to learn that my words hurt, even when I was right. Some of you are also good with words. That's your power, and you need to learn that lesson too. But some of you, your power is image. You are stylish, you're popular, you know what to say, you know what to do, you know what to post. And that means you also know how to make other people look bad. You know how to expose their mistakes. You know how to show everyone their hypocrisy. You know how to point out their flaws and their failures, just exactly what to post or say. But that snarky comment on their picture, that angry post on their feed, that text about how fake they are, and if everybody just knew what you knew, these things hurt. You are driving a spear right into them. And this isn't just social media posts. It's political ones too. Because it is easy, it is so easy to make that argument online. Or not even make it, just like it. Just repost what someone else said. That one comment that shows just how right you are and how wrong they are, that makes it so clear and it feels so good. It feels good to repost that sarcastic meme, that cynical comic, to stab back at all those silly liberals, to get back at all of those foolish conservatives. Because they're stabbing us all the time, and isn't it about time that we grabbed our spears and got them back a little? After all, it's just a post. It's just a retweet. I'm sure it's what everyone was thinking. What's the harm? Well, spears hurt. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if they deserve it. And it doesn't matter if everyone agrees. What do spears do? Spears hurt. I got one more. And this one is for everybody. It might be the greatest power of all. And it's the power of relationships. It's the power of knowing someone, especially someone that cares about you. If you have a child, this is a power you have. If you have a spouse, this is a power you have. Even dating someone. If you have a brother or a sister, you know them and they care about you, and that means you have power in their life. And even if you have a parent, if you have a mom or a dad, you have power in their life because you know them. And when you know somebody, you know their flaws. You know what's wrong with them. You know what bugs you and what you don't like, and you really, really want to fix it. Because you know they could be better, and you want them to be better, and that's not a bad thing. We want to make each other more like Jesus, more like God, and that is good. But here's the problem. We're not God. I'm not God. I don't know how to be God. God is really big, and I am meant to be a picture of God, a small picture of God. I'm a small picture of God called Brad. That's my name, that's who I am, and God is teaching me how to be Brad, the picture of God called Brad. So if I try to change you, if I try to make you more like God, I don't know how to be God. I only know how to be Brad. And so if I'm trying to change you into something else, I'm going to end up changing you into Brad. And you were not meant to look like me. You were meant to look like Jesus, to look like God. You were meant to look like you. And if I try to change you into me, then I am stealing from God. And I'm hurting you in the process. Relationships give us incredible power. If you have a close relationship, a spouse, a friend, a child, a parent, a brother, or a sister, then the words you say and the actions you do can change them. They will change them. The question is, are you going to try to change them into what you want, or to bless them exactly as they are? If we want to show people the love of Jesus, help them. Don't hurt them. So how do we do that? Well, we hammer our spears into pruning hooks. We stop trying to get our own way. And notice it says hammer. It does not say trade. It's not like you have a closet and each day you're like, well, do I want to hurt or do I want to help? No, you destroy your spear to get a pruning hook. You give up your ability to fight. You give up your ability to get your way. And for me, this meant that I had to give up arguing. Ooh, that was hard. Through high school and into college and after, because my power was words, I had to stop debating people. I had to stop arguing, even when I was right. And oh man, that was hard, because I was right, and I could prove I was right, and I had to stay silent. As I got older and more educated and respected, people even invited me onto stages to debate things, and I had to say no. Not because debating is bad, but because debating was my spear, and I had to give it up. But the joy of this is that I didn't just lose something, I gained something so much better. Throughout years of practice, of giving up arguing, I discovered that God had given me a new talent, a new blessing. I became an amazing listener. I started gaining the ability to listen to others' words and to hear God's truth in them. So instead of going around and proving how my words were right, I could find what was right and true and beautiful in the lives of others. And that was a rich blessing, so much better than the spear ever was. If you're someone with a power of argument, that may be your path. Giving it up may be the way forward for you. But if you're someone with the power of image, if posts and comments are your power, that may be something to give up. Just stop posting. Or only post something that makes other people look good, even your enemies. And if you find yourself getting drawn into arguments online, if you find that you really want to retweet or like that post that makes the argument so well, maybe don't. You might be called to just sign off. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. That might be your way of hammering out your spear. And if you commit to this, not just for a season or a week or a month, but I mean the long haul. I mean years. If this becomes your path, you will discover talents and ways to bless others that you never imagined. And if you're in a relationship, if you are in a marriage, if you have a brother or a sister, if you have a parent or a child, then you have power. And when you see a flaw or error in others, I want to challenge you to pray. And then to pray. Pray that God changes them, yes, but also pray to give up your need to change them yourself. The prayer could sound something like this, just as an example. God, I see this flaw in them, and I really want it to be fixed, but they belong to you and not to me. And I trust you. If this is not the time to fix it, if this is not when they're going to be healed, I trust you. You love me even though I'm full of errors. You forgive me for all my mistakes, and you are patient with me when I fail you again and again. Please help me to love them in the same way you love me. Help me to love them with all their errors, to forgive them for all their mistakes, and to be patient with them as they fail me. If we can pray like that, if we can pray that again and again, because trust me, you have to pray it again and again, well, then we can come to God with another prayer. Then we can say, God, show me what to do. Show me my role. Show me what to say or not to say, what to do or not to do. Tell me if I'm front and center in fixing this, or maybe I have nothing to do with it. Because whatever you tell me, I will do it. And if we do that, then we will look just like Jesus. That is how he moved through the world, asking God what to do and then doing it. If we can do that, we can be a blessing to our friends and our family and our relationship. We can be a blessing that no one in Fishers is expecting and everyone in Fishers is longing for. If you want to show people the love of Jesus, help them. Don't hurt them. And to be clear, this is not passive. Helping is not weak. Helping is power. But it is power used for someone else. And so I want to give you a picture of what this looks like. Instead of me carrying this spear, instead of using my power to get what I want in this world, I have to bring it to the anvil. And I have to give up my power and make something new. I have to let go of my desire to control the world, of my desire to control others. I have to let go of making myself sound good and look good and win. And instead, I start blessing others and using my power to help them, even when they don't deserve it. Because that's what Jesus did for us. And over time, and with the grace of God, we can end up with one of these. If we want to be a church that shows the city of Fishers what Jesus looks like, it is time to hammer our spears into pruning hooks, to give up our power for their blessing, to give up everything we deserve in exchange for what they need. Because remember, a spear, a hook, and this church, you will create the answer. And I hope it helps. Father God, we thank you for your word. We thank you for your promise and the hope that Jesus will bring an end to every fight and to every argument and to all the violence we know. God, we long for that. And this world is full of spears, and it's full of people that are fighting to get what they want. And God, right now, I lift up my spear and my heart because I don't want to get what I want. I want to be what they need. I don't want to turn the world into my image. I want to bless the world in your image. And God, I ask that for every person in this room, that you will give them the hope of who they could be, that you will give them the picture of how they are your image on earth, and that you will remind them that they have the strength to hammer out their spears into a blessing they can't even imagine. We love you and we trust you. Amen.